The most evocative picture of Mao ever taken, at least in my opinion, here, standing in a wheat field in Henan, 1958. It was the basis of a poster that was quite popular and even ubiquitous in the Cultural Revolution. But looking at him standing in the grain reminds me of The Catcher, the one that Holden Caulfield wishfully imagined would stand in the rye and intercept the children as they moved through the field of grain toward their own perils. Caulfield was misremembering a line from a Robert Burns poem of the 1780s, but the poem wasn't even Burns's to begin with. It just passed through his hands. It was a poem, a song of the people of Scotland, recited and sung for generations before Burns was even born, the true voice of the Volk. And we have songs of the people, too, in China's past, and they mattered a great deal to the government. And there was, in fact, a bureau of the government whose job it was to go out into the fields and record the songs sung by people farming as a way of measuring their mood and maybe thus the quality of the emperor's rule. And you can think of it maybe as an early kind of popularity test or opinion poll. I'd like to share one such poem with you, and this was collected between the year 151 and 153 of the Common Era, and it's known as the Ballad of Wheat, and it goes like this. Wheat so green, barley withered, who will be reapers but wives and mothers-in-law, husbands and men somewhere west, fighting barbarians. The official buys his horse, the gentleman has his chariot. Please act for us, our throats bulge with nonsense. Such songs never ceased, and if we return to the 20th century, again to the year 1958, China was in the throes of the Great Leap Forward, a political campaign that demanded much of people, demanded that they smelt their own iron, and demanded that the peasants produce more agricultural goods than ever before, all while people were in fact starving to death. And at that time, a high official, a man named Peng Dehuai, a military leader, the defense minister at the time, did an inspection tour in Hubei province to see what was really going on in the countryside. And someone pressed into his hand a poem written on a piece of paper. And it has no title, but it goes like this. Grain scattered on the ground, crops withered, young and strong gone to smelt iron, women and girls harvest. Next year, how will we get by? Please, speak up for the people. Both of these poems, separated by 1,805 years, talk about the desperation in the Chinese countryside, and so the themes are parallel. But if you read Chinese or show this to someone who does, it's even more amazing than that in fact the words themselves are in tight parallel, especially there in that final line, which means that the person who wrote the second poem was deeply aware of the first poem from 18 centuries earlier and was evoking it in his message. And what of The Catcher? There was none in the Scottish original. It was about peasants fucking in a field where no one would know. No one saved Holden, and his story now teaches young people alienation is only a phase. And in China, there was no savior.